Are you thinking about making a move to the Boise, Idaho area, but you're unsure of really how you feel about the housing market? You've been hearing all sorts of things about Boise over the last few years where it was absolutely insane. Things have gotten so expensive. Maybe things are correcting. Is Boise the next big housing market to take a tumble and completely crash? Before you decide to actually make the move, you gotta know what you're getting into and if this is a housing market that you want to buy into. And in this video, I will answer exactly that. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase Dolan, your Boise realtor. And in this video today, just like I said, I'm gonna provide you all with a little market update for the first 8 or 9 months of 2024. As of filming this, we're towards the end of September 2024. So we're gonna recap what's happened. We're gonna talk about some of those big macroeconomic things that are impacting our economy. And then I'm gonna give you a little bit of that Q4 outlook so that you really know what to expect if you're thinking about making the move over the next few months as we head into winter. And there is no other place to start than with interest rates. Interest rates and mortgage rates have been the talk of every news source for the last year and a half. We saw interest rates just completely skyrocket and triple within the span of a few months, which caused a really strong correction back in the last half of 2022 and throughout a lot of 2023. And then for the most part, those interest rates kept climbing for a good portion of this year and then kind of stood still once we got up towards that 7%, depending on the day that you were looking at. There has been such a strong demand for homes and real estate in the area that has been sitting on the sidelines, kind of waiting for things to start to trickle back down. And that finally started to happen with a little bit of velocity over the last month or two, where all of a sudden interest rates, as of filming this, are just around that 6%. And the Fed literally just announced a 0.5% rate cut, which is only going to continue that fall down. So this is something that I know if you tune into any sort of real estate thing, you've been talking to an agent, whatever, I know that you've heard me say it. Once those rates start to tumble and we even get into the mid fives, there is just going to be a huge chunk of buyer demand that has been waiting. Now they're seeing this as their opportunity, and they've been waiting for a year, 2 years. If they were ready to move then, just imagine how ready they are to move now. And even since rates have started to drop down closer to 6%, I can tell you that over the last month or two, things have been absolutely crazy. We have seen demand just completely shoot up. I've had people coming out of the woodwork, people relocating in particular. This is the sweet spot time of the year. So if you've been waiting for this and you're still not sure what you really want to do, this is a time. Reach out to the lender that you're working with and have them kind of break down what the actual rates are. And then you can decide if this is the right time for you or not. And before we get into the next section, I do want to give you a reminder that I am a licensed agent up here in the Boise, Idaho area. So if you're looking at all of this and you're not really sure if this is the right time to make a move, or maybe you're thinking about those interest rates, but you don't have a lender and you need somebody to connect you to one that is an absolute rock star up here in the area, all of my information is down below. I would absolutely love to help in any way that I can. But let's get right back into it and let's talk about what is actually happening in the housing market. So we're having demand start to trickle up a little bit, but what does that actually mean for homes that are selling? What's that doing for pricing? What's that doing for the velocity of the market, the days on market, the supply of inventory? We're gonna get into all of that. But the main thing that I'm seeing in the market right now is that pricing a property aggressively and at what it's actually worth is absolutely paramount. Couple this with spending the time having an expert in your corner to prep your home for sale and make it stand out amongst the competition. We are seeing that homes that get both of these right are flying off the shelves. These are the ones that are sitting on the market for just a few days, one weekend. They're getting multiple offers, they're getting stellar terms, and they're the ones that show that there really is a strong demand just sitting there. But what that demand knows is as inventory is starting to creep up, the buyers have had a little bit more power than they've had in the past, and they have become very patient and very discerning to where they're not going to settle for a home. So for those of you that might be thinking about selling your home, this is not the market to test the total upper range. This is not the market to skip on professional photos, which drives me insane, or to skip on staging, maybe cleaning. The time and money that is spent up front is going to make a world of difference. And that first week or two that you're on the market is the time that you as the seller are gonna get the best offers that you can. And once that starts to go, things just start to feel stale. And that's where we're seeing homes sit on the market for 30, 60, 90. Heck, I'm seeing homes sit on the market for closer to 180 days right now. On average, across our valley, you're gonna see that the average days on market is gonna be somewhere between that 35 to 40, 45 days. As of filming this video, the median home price in Ada County is right around $535,000, which is very similar to what it was just 1 year ago, where in September of 2023, it was actually exactly $535,000. And I think this is a great encapsulation of our overall market. We have seen some homes really start to dip and lose some of that value. We've also seen some homes and communities and cities really start to rise. But on the whole, we've really just seen things kind of hold even, which after the correction of 2022 and 2023, where things were starting to feel a little more dicey, having things hold even is a big relief. This is also a reason why I just don't see a massive housing crash come. I think that our correction that occurred back just a couple years ago, we saw home prices start to drop by around 20%. And looking into a crystal ball with real estate honestly just never goes well. But if things had taken a nice little drop and then started to hold steady, I just don't see another drop coming right now. There's no factors that are really leading towards that. One of the factors that I hear people talk about all the time about the impending crash, the fire in the thumbnails, you all know the YouTube videos that I'm talking about, is that they point to inventory and how it has been steadily rising for quite some time to where now we have a lot more inventory than we did a year, 2 years ago. But the thing to remember always is that inventory was so low during the pandemic, 2021, 2022, that even if inventory doubled or tripled, we're still way below kind of what that balanced market would be. In Ada County, the months of supply, which is kind of how we can measure inventory and how quickly, basically think about it, if no more homes came on the market, how long would it take the current demand to eat up all the supply on the market? This is a useful measure because it allows you to really compare and figure out where the buyer's markets are, the seller's markets, or the balanced markets. For reference, a balanced market is anywhere from 5 to 7 months of inventory. If there's less inventory than that, you're in a seller's market. And if there's more, that's where you start to get into a buyer's market. Because again, at the end of the day, the entire housing market or anything market or economy driven is gonna be that consistent relationship with supply and demand. So right now in Ada County, on the resale side, so the existing homes, we're sitting at 2.2 months of inventory. So what this means is that yes, the supply is starting to grow, but the demand is still so high that all the homes that are hitting on the market, they would be completely gone in just a couple of months based off what's really going on right now. And that's what leads it to really be still a strong seller's market. On the new construction side, that number actually drops down to 1.4. The demand for new homes over the last year has been phenomenal. Part of this is just because new construction has always been something that's desirable for a lot of people, but builders were the first one to react when the market kind of started to correct and drop. They were ready to adjust pricing and really be dynamic and move with the flow of the market in a way that resale homes, sellers just weren't ready to do that. And then here in 2024, we've seen a ton of builders continue to offer all sorts of incentives, which when you're looking at that high interest rate market, if a builder is offering you tens of thousands of dollars as an incentive to buy down that rate, that is something that is going to be so appealing to buyers that are out there trying to get that loan. So on both fronts, we are still leaning towards a seller's market. But when you compare it to the pandemic and the absolute craziness, that's where you were seeing months of inventory under 1. It was at half a month. Things were absolutely bonkers. Hopefully we never get back there. So comparing with that, this is gonna feel like more of a buyer's market, and it is. But all of this is really just to illustrate that even though inventory is starting to rise, we still need a lot more inventory to start to get into a zone where it's a total buyer's market and housing prices will start to drop. Heck, we have a lot of work to do just to get to that balanced market. We haven't seen a balanced market up here in Boise since back towards 2014, 2015. So if you want to continue to wait for one, be my guest. And this is coming from somebody who's not a real estate agent. I'm just telling you the advice that I got before I even looked into this as a career. If you try and time the real estate market, you're gonna lose. Nobody ever wins on that front. And as one more measure to look at the velocity of the market and how much demand and supply there's been, In Ada and Canyon County, which kind of comprise the entire Treasure Valley, the total number of homes sold in Q2 were 2,284, compared to Q1, which is kind of that end of winter, early spring area, where there were 1,629 homes sold. Some of this is to be expected. Q2 is always going to be more busy than Q1. But the thing that I want to point out here is that Q2 number, that was the highest number of homes that we've seen sell and transact since all the way back in 2022, quarter two then. So this will be one of those numbers that we want to see what happens here in Q3 as we kind of come to the end of it into Q4. And then once we get away, the further we get away from the pandemic, honestly, those year over year numbers start to matter more because that was such a crazy time and a little bit of an anomaly. Now, real quick, I want to touch on what the 3 hottest markets have been over the last few months. The ones that we've seen the most activity and the most interest and actual transactions happen in are Northwest Meridian, which has been a big hit for quite some time, and we're actually starting to see more new development projects get started. So stay tuned. I think this is just the beginning. We've also seen Star continue to be something that people are just so interested in. It is a great balance of that rural, more small town separated from civilization life, but that separation is only a 15 to 20 minute drive to get back into Eagle, to get into Meridian. Star has seen a ton of new businesses, restaurants, bars open up. And I think that these sorts of improvements and that sort of growth is just going to continue to contribute to people really taking it seriously. And finally, the 3rd hottest market over the last few months has been Eagle, Idaho. You all know this is where I live. I love Eagle. And I am not alone in that fact. When people come up here and visit, they fall in love with what the town has to offer, the nice balance of being more closer to town, but still having some space from your neighbors. It's a little less busy feeling than Meridian, but it's not quite as quiet as Star or Middleton. The downtown has a great vibe and feel, and that is just gonna get better as some of these projects down there in the construction start to wrap up. And I could go on, but that's gonna be the 3rd hottest market that we've seen. Okay, you might be sitting there just itching for wanting to know, okay, Chase, that's great. Thank you for all the recap, the numbers that I could care less about. What does this actually mean? Where are things going? And when I think about what I'm expecting out of Q4, is we're gonna have that typical kind of slowdown that comes with winter. Especially on the relocation front, we typically see kind of relocation interest wane just a little bit because if you don't have to make the move, you're gonna wait until temperatures start to rise again. But this is something that I always like to point out. If everybody else is waiting and they're wanting that spring weather, that is an opportunity for you because again, if everybody's zigging, you want to be zagging. I do expect interest rates to continue to drop. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the point where they were a few years ago, but I could see us being in the mid 5s towards the end of the year and kind of staying around there for a little bit, which I wholeheartedly believe is just going to make our demand continue to rise, especially if rates continue to drop. Next spring is going to be insane. So again, that might be a reason not to wait. I do think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with inventory. Part of that slowdown in the winter is because people also don't really want to sell their homes in the winter. It's not all green and pretty. It's cold. They don't want to have to get out of the home. It's already hard enough to keep your home clean. Imagine having all the people doing showings coming from the slush and the snow. So it's going to be normal to see inventory dip just a little bit, but I'm interested to see in relation to how inventory has been rising and with the lower interest rates, what people forget is a lot of that demand that's gonna come out of the woodwork is coming from homeowners. They've been waiting to sell their home and move into something bigger, something smaller, something closer to family. Whatever the reason is, they've been waiting for a couple of years. So now that those rates start to drop, if they see this as their opportunity to buy, that also means that it's gonna be their opportunity to sell. And finally, the final point, the big one that everybody is thinking about, here in a couple of months, we have a rather large event happening in our country. I'm of course talking about the presidential election. This is always an interesting concept because people tend to think that there is this massive effect on the housing market, positively, negatively, that comes from who's actually president. But the data shows very clearly that there is almost no effect. The things that really affect the housing market are the macroeconomic trends. You're gonna see interest rates, you're gonna see home prices, demand. All of those things are what make the housing market go up or down. the person or the party that's in the White House really doesn't have a huge impact. Now, long term, could their policies or their initiatives make a big impact? Of course. But if you're waiting for the election to make your move, things are not going to look drastically different 3 weeks after than they do a couple weeks before. And that's really where I see the impact of the election. It doesn't really change the actual housing market. What it really does is it impacts an individual's outlook on where they see the country going, which leads them to the confidence of, is this the right time for me to make such a huge investment, to make a move, to be change? Because change is always a little risky. So if you're feeling confident, you're ready to go, which is going to make the housing market feel good. But if you're scared and you're not really sure what's going to happen, you're not going to feel confident. You're not going to want to make the move. And that's where it can feel like things are kind of coming to a halt. But overall, that's kind of where I see the housing market right now. I do think we're in a really good position. I don't think we are the insane, crazy market that we were. And I feel like over the last year, we've really started to find that new equilibrium and what is that new normal. Prices were starting to stay steady. People kind of got used to the higher interest rates, and those sorts of things lead to the stability that you want in a housing market. So I'm sorry for those of you that were looking for me to be that doomsday kind of prophet just telling you that everything is about to burn. I'm sorry to disappoint. I don't see that happening. But I do want to remind you, anybody who is giving you that crystal ball look, that is not the path that you want to go down, because we're all going to be wrong. We don't actually know what the heck is coming. You just need to look at the information and make the best decision that you can today. And this is going to impact you very differently if you're on the buy side or the sell side. And it's going to be really interesting if you're selling to buy. The good thing with that situation is if it's bad to buy, that means it's good to sell. So you're getting both on the sides, good to buy, bad to sell. You get the picture. And if you have any specific questions about what this means for your situation, how the market actually impacts you, maybe you want to know if you're making an offer, what are we actually seeing? Are you having to go drastically over ask? Or what kind of incentives are people getting? Those are the kinds of questions that I love chatting through. So all of my information is down below. I would absolutely love to talk. And if you learned something or just liked this video, don't forget, hit that subscribe button down below. That way you are the first to know everything you need to know about living up here in the Boise, Idaho area. And if there's something that you think I missed, something that I said that you just think is flat out wrong, or we might just have a difference of opinion, leave a comment down below. I always love to hear those, because I always like to hear what the other side has going on, because that's how you can continue to learn. But until then, watch one of these videos that's popping up, and I'll see you all on the next one.